The Miami Heat season officially came to a close last night as they got blown out by 55 points to the Cleveland Cavaliers in that first round exit where they got swept 4-0. We are going to see hopefully major changes this upcoming offseason, but we have a lot to discuss on today's show around Bam Adebayo and Tyler Herro, so stay tuned for that. But I did want to look at some offseason outlook, broad things before we get into Bam and Tyler Herro. We'll start with the finances of the Heat as we're currently slated, and this can change whether it's trades, cuts, whole 9 yards, but we're projected to have a salary of $185 million. That is above the salary cap, but it is just underneath the tax threshold right now at $187.8 million. Now, the Heat will obviously go over that if they want to add to the roster or like a re-sign a Davion Mitchell. They are $10 million underneath the first apron of the luxury tax, and they are $22 million underneath the second apron, so they do have some wiggle room when it comes to that area heading into the offseason. And when you look to the free agents that Miami has, there is really only 3 of them that matter. We've talked a lot about Davion Mitchell, the restricted free agent, on what the Heat are going to be willing to match in the offseason. He played himself into a pretty solid contract down the stretch after joining the Heat's roster following the deadline. His performances in the play-in, and he's one of the rare players that actually brought it in this first round series against Cleveland. So I'm projecting maybe a 4-year, $40 million contract, 4 for 44. We'll see if another team offers him more to try to steal him away from Miami, but the Heat, assuming they offer that tender to Davion, will have the right to match. Alec Burks is an unrestricted free agent. We'll see if Miami brings him back. I would not hate if we did that. He was solid throughout the year. And then Duncan Robinson. Technically, he is under contract, but he has an early termination option. On July 8th, his contract guarantees for $19.4 million. Right now, he's on the books for $9 million. So if the Heat do not guarantee his contract and release him before that July 8th deadline, they could save $10 million in cap space and have a dead cap hit of $9 million. We'll see what Miami chooses to do with Duncan. And then with that, these are the exceptions Miami is allowed this upcoming offseason. Right now in free agency, because they are not in the tax right now, they are allowed to use the $14.1 million non-taxpayer mid-level exception. They are allowed to use the biannual $5.1 million exception. They have 3 trade exceptions at $16, $3.1, and $2.1 million. Those rarely ever get used, so I wouldn't look too much into that. They are allowed to buy a second-round pick. Remember, you don't have to trade anything to get a second-round pick in the NBA at times. You could just buy one because the Heat's finances are where they are. They can do that, and they also obviously can sign people to the vet min. All right, we're going to get to the Bam Adebayo and Tyler Herro stuff. Wanted to do a full offseason quick outlook there. But make sure you do subscribe because in the offseason, we put out more videos than we do in the regular season. Videos every single day. Hit that sub button. 22,122 of you already have. Appreciate everyone. Let's get to 23K ASAP. Let's get to Bam Adebayo now because I might be overreacting to this, but I kind of got nervous with Bam's post-game comments yesterday following the loss, and I might be reading into it too much, but to me, I kind of got the vibe where he could request a trade, and I think I am overreacting, but I do want to show you what the quote is. Bam, when asked what will happen this offseason, said, "There are going to be a lot of changes this summer. Knowing how the guy with the silver hair works," obviously referring to Pat Riley, "be prepared for that." And listen, that is not new. We know that Pat Riley, after seeing the embarrassing display of basketball that we saw throughout the entire regular season, but in that first-round playoff series against the Cavs, where, by the way, the Heat lost by 37 and 55 at home. That is flat out unacceptable. I don't care what type of organization you are. That is not acceptable to the fan base to lose 2 playoff home games by 37 and 55. And you factor in the fact that is now 8 straight games that the Heat have lost at home in the playoffs, dating back to the 2023 Eastern Conference Finals against the Celtics, because they lost Game 4 at home. They lost Game 6 at home. They lost both games at home to the Nuggets in the finals. They lost both games at home last year to the Celtics, and they lost both games at home again this year. It is unacceptable. But when Bam Adebayo says be prepared for that in terms of offseason changes, like, it almost tells me he knows something. It almost tells me that he expects changes because he might request a trade himself. Now, I hope that I am just overreacting, but the pessimist in me is not feeling too good about the Heat's situation with Adebayo entering the offseason. But let me know. You hopefully feel differently than I am. Tell me I'm wrong. I need reassurance. I need words of affirmation down below in the chat. Am I overreacting to Bam's comments? Let me know. Type Y for yes or type N for no. I'll use this time to kind of reflect on Adebayo's season because he obviously came into the year as the second best player on Miami, but then once Jimmy Butler's saga started, he was looked at to be the leader, the captain, the guy for this team. And even though I am one of the biggest Bam defenders, supporters out there, if you will, I can acknowledge this was a very tough season and a down year for Adebayo. He did an excellent job of staying healthy for the Heat. He played in 78 games this season, but the offensive output and efficiency just wasn't what you wanted to see from the captain. He averaged 18 points a game this season. He started to incorporate the three ball, which allowed his field goal percentage to come down. He's been a 50% plus guy his entire career, but now that he's shooting 3.5 threes a game, shot 35.7% from three, yeah, his efficiency went down. But I was disappointed with what he did in the playoffs as well. In the 4 games against the Cavs, his numbers went down in terms of points per game, his efficiency, and his three-point shooting, which should not surprise you. Playoff basketball is a little bit different. The part that annoyed me with Adebayo is his lack of aggressiveness on the offensive end at times this season. And hopefully I get and I expect a bounce back this upcoming season for Bam, assuming he is on the roster, but he's just got to be better. And I know he is not a player that looks to average 23, 25 points per game, but he can't average 18. He's got to be in the 20s. He just does. And if you're going to be a max player, which he is for the Heat right now, and be a top 2 player on the team, you have to control more of the offense. And I know that Eric Spoelstra utilizes him in a top of the key, pick and roll, dribble handoff guy, but that needs to change this offseason as well. So maybe you can look at Eric Spoelstra and beg for changes on the offensive ends to where Bam is utilized more, not as a creator for others, but allowing him to create for himself, because he does have the talent, in my opinion, to get his own bucket. Now, there are things that he needs to improve on, and the 4 things that I want to see from Adebayo this offseason in his improvements is that, 1, he has to shed 10 to 15 pounds. Bam is transitioning to the wing, the 4, the 3. Where is your center? Bam doesn't need to play at 255 pounds. Get down to 240, become more elusive, more athletic, and a better wing guy. He needs to improve his handle. Too many turnovers, and that limits him in his creation game because he gets pickpocketed and he turns the ball over too much. He started to incorporate that 3-ball shot and needs to become more consistent this year. More volume, more efficiency. And I need Bam to be more aggressive on the offensive end. There should never be a world where Adebayo shoots less than 10 times in a game. But too often this season, in the regular season, the playoffs, he did not get his shot. He is the most talented guy on the team. Shoot the ball more. These 4 things Bam Adebayo desperately needs to improve on this upcoming offseason and next year if he remains on the Heat. All right, final word on Bam Adebayo. Even though I am worried that he may have soft alluded to a trade request, I do not want to trade him. I know a lot of Heat fans are down on Bam. I see it in the live chat of our live streams. I see it in the comments. I'm open to a Bam Adebayo trade. I am, and that's a change for me. I'm open to it. If the Heat aren't going to make changes and a team comes over the top with like 3 first-round picks and a decent young player to try to get Adebayo, and those picks are good picks, I'm open to it. I'm also open to trading him to get an upgrade. If Giannis was available, I would be open to trading Adebayo for Giannis. I still want to move forward with Bam on the roster, but I am open to moving on from him because I'm not so sure what I want to see improved on will happen, and I'm not so sure that his ceiling is that much higher than what it is right now. I hope to be wrong, though. All right, coming up in 1 second, are the Heat going to extend Tyler Herro? Should they extend Tyler Herro this offseason as he is eligible for an extension? But I do want to get you guys aware that we have this Miami Heat shirt on sale right now. When you go to chatsports.com/Heat shirt, you can get this sweet Heat t-shirt, represent them in the offseason, represent them year-round. Link will be in the description and comments of today's video. One more time, chatsports.com/Heat shirt. All right, let's get over to Tyler Herro now because he is extension eligible this offseason, and I think it's arguably the biggest question the Heat have to look inward on this upcoming offseason. How do they prepare? How do they move forward with this roster build? Are you going to try to build a roster around Herro and Bam? I think that would be a mistake. But if you are you extending Tyler? Or are you moving off of Herro? Like, what are the ways the Heat improve from what this past season was? Well, I think it's important to look at what Herro's contract details are and what extension he is eligible for. Herro does still have 2 years left on his current contract, the extension he signed in 2022, for a relatively cheap price point, $31 million this season, $33 million in the 2026-27 season. That is a pretty good contract for a player of his caliber. The problem is that he is extension eligible starting October 1st. That extension is a 3-year, $149.7 million deal. So obviously, Herro making 31 and 33 over the next 2 seasons will get jumped up to, if you sign him to that extension, to him making 45, 47, 48, 49, 50 million type of dollars per season in the 3 years starting on October 1st. Now, what happens if you wait? What happens if you do not sign Tyler Herro to an extension? Because you actually have a 19-day window, fun fact. It opens up on October 1st. You have until October 20 to agree to that contract extension. If you do not, you have to wait to the following offseason, where he would become eligible for a 4-year, $206.9 million extension, which is obviously basically the same AAV, but 1 more year added on. Now, Tyler Herro could bet on himself, not do that extension, or the Heat could bet on him not doing this, whatever you want to say, because he would become eligible for a 5-year, $380 million contract if you do not extend him in that October window, but he makes All-NBA next season. Do I expect that to happen? No. And if Tyler Herro doesn't sign that extension and makes the All-NBA team to become eligible for that 5-year, $308 million extension, you probably would not complain because that means he's a top, 15 player in the NBA next season? So I doubt that happens, but then I would also probably have no issues giving Herro that extension if he was a top 15 player next season. So it's a waiting game on, do you want to maybe give him a contract extension at all, or see if he makes that leap, whatever, but it is what it is. Before I give you my call on what I want to do, I want to hear yours. Would you extend Tyler Herro to that 3-year, $149.7 million contract extension in October? Type E for extend, type D if you do not. There is no world where I extend. There isn't. I'll be honest. Based off what I've seen Tyler in his career, there is not a chance that I would give him $48 million on an annual average basis over 3 years. There just isn't. And the reason is, even if he takes another leap to where he is now an All-NBA guy, averaging 28, 29, 30 points per game on efficient shooting, well, then maybe you think about giving him that extension next offseason. But I got to see that jump first because Herro was really awesome this year, man. He was one of the biggest bright spots on the team. Made his first NBA All-Star game. Well deserved. Absolutely deserved to be at the All-Star game. But he once again failed in the playoffs. And that's been a common theme throughout his career. I'm looking at his career playoff series. He's played in 11 series in his career in the postseason. His best ever series was in the bubble against the Celtics in the Eastern Conference Finals, where he averaged 19 points a game on 52% shooting and 35% from 3. But in his 11 series of playoffs, he averages 14.6 points per game, shooting 41% from the field and 32% from 3. Time after time after time, we have seen that Tyler Herro is not built for the playoffs. He is not. It's unfortunate, but it seems like it is that way for Mr. 14. You just can't extend Tyler Herro because when you look at what the Heat would be giving him, it's $50 million per season. That 3-year, $149.7 million extension he's eligible for. Herro, as much as I love him, cannot be a top 2 player on a championship contending team. I think he could be your third option because he could score the ball and relieve some of your top 2 guys. But he can't be a top 2 player on your team. We've seen that over the past year and a half of Tyler. And if you pay him $48, $49 million per season, you were restricting your team building. If you extend Tyler Herro to that 3-year, $149.7 million contract, you are basically putting yourself in NBA purgatory to where you are going to be a play-in team like you have been for the last 3 seasons and first-round exits like you have been the last 2 seasons. I love Tyler, but I wouldn't give him more than $35 million per season because that is a third option in the NBA, and that is what I believe Tyler Herro is on a championship contending team. All right, let's round out the video with this. Final word, final statement, as this is our off-season address, if you will, here at the Heat Report. No one is off the table. I do not want to hear a word this offseason about someone being untouchable. I do not. Kel'el Ware, I would move him if it means getting a good player. I would move Bam Adebayo if you can upgrade the roster. I would move Tyler Herro if you can upgrade the roster. Every player on the roster is tradable. Everybody in the front office is on the hot seat. I mean that. I don't think Eric Spoelstra should be on the hot seat, but if you struggle once again next year, he is on the hot seat the following offseason. There should not be one level of comfortability if your spot's on the roster, if your job is safe in the front office, or the coaching staff. We need a sense of urgency. We need asses on fire, man. Because what we've seen over the past 2 years has been downright unacceptable. And I know people might say from opposing fan bases that we're spoiled. But that's the Heat fan base. I mean, we expect success. And I don't think we should be shamed for expecting success because that's what the front office expects. That's what the coaching staff expects. So how about they go out there and make a roster that can actually deliver results? What the last 3 years have been, or 2 years I should say, unacceptable. We'll be here the entire NBA offseason with trade rumors, draft rumors, free agency, live shows. So make sure you hit that sub button. And if you're still watching this video and aren't subscribed, it's a long one, so I appreciate you still hanging in with us. But you obviously like what we're doing, so join the channel today.